My wife invited her entire family to watch as she presented me with divorce papers on my birthday. Surprise! I'm leaving you for someone who isn't a disappointment. Her father laughed. We never thought she'd actually marry someone so beneath her. They had champagne ready to celebrate my devastation. I smiled, calmly signed the papers, and left. Today, exactly 6 months later, she was sleeping in her car outside my house, begging to talk. Her frantic please answer texts lighting up my phone. I never thought I'd be typing out something like this. Part of me still can't believe this actually happened. But here we are. Fair warning, this is going to be a long one. So I turned 34 last Saturday. Not exactly a milestone birthday, but Julie, my wife, well, soon-to-be ex-wife, told me she was planning something special for the occasion. She seemed weirdly enthusiastic about it the whole week before, constantly on her phone, smiling to herself, being super secretive. At the time, I thought maybe she was planning some surprise party or something nice. After all the crap we'd been going through lately, things between us had been tense. Not screaming match tense, but that cold, quiet tension that honestly feels worse sometimes. We'd been married for 6 years, met in college. She was this gorgeous business major from a rich family, and I was the scholarship kid working 3 jobs to afford ramen. Classic story, right? Her family never approved of me. Her dad, Bronson, yes, that's actually his name, like some villain in an 80s movie, would make these little comments about my humble beginnings at every holiday dinner. Her mom would ask how that little job of yours was going, even after I got promoted to team lead. And then there were the constant Instagram posts from Julie showing off our apartment, which wasn't fancy enough for her family, but was the best we could afford, while I was putting in overtime to save for a house. Julie kept posting these captions about making the best of things or simple living, like we were some charity case. Always comparing our life to her cousin Nova, who married some hedge fund guy and lived in a damn mansion. The last few months, Julie had been spending more time with her family, coming home late from work events, smelling like expensive cologne. She'd get these texts that made her smile in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. I'm not an idiot. I had suspicions, but I kept thinking, if I just worked harder, got that promotion, maybe things would get better. So back to my birthday. I came home from work. Yes, I had to work on my birthday. Welcome to adult life, and the apartment was empty. Julie texted, saying to meet her at her parents' place for my surprise. Already weird, since her parents' house was the last place I'd want to celebrate anything, but whatever. I figured maybe she was trying to smooth things over with them. I show up at their McMansion in the suburbs, and Julie meets me at the door with this weird smile that didn't reach her eyes. The living room is full of people. Her parents, her sister Annabelle, a couple cousins, some family friends I recognize from past gatherings. They're all holding champagne glasses. There's this awkward silence when I walk in. Julie says, "Todd, we have something special for your birthday." Then her dad actually snickers. Not laughs, snickers, like a cartoon villain. So I'm standing there, thinking maybe they got me a car or something. Stupid, I know. When Julie pulls out this manila envelope from behind her back, for a split second, I thought maybe it was plane tickets or something. Then she says those exact words. "Surprise! I'm leaving you for someone who isn't a disappointment." The room goes completely silent, except for her dad, who starts full-on laughing. I'm standing there, frozen, trying to process what the hell is happening, when her dad says, "We never thought she'd actually marry someone, so beneath her, thank God she finally came to her senses." Julie shoves the envelope in my hands, divorce papers already filled out, just waiting for my signature. Her mom literally pops a champagne bottle and starts pouring more glasses for everyone. They had planned this whole thing as some kind of sick celebration. I don't know what they expected. Maybe for me to cry, to beg, to make a scene. Instead, something inside me just hardened. I looked at each of their smug faces, at the woman I thought I'd grow old with, and I just felt nothing. Like I was watching this happen to someone else. I asked Julie for a pen. Her smile faltered a bit. Guess that wasn't the reaction she wanted. Her dad handed me his fancy Mont Blanc. I went to their pristine white marble countertop, spread the papers out, and signed every single line without saying a word. No one said anything. The only sound was my pen scratching paper and someone awkwardly clearing their throat. When I finished, I looked directly at Julie and said, "Thanks for the birthday gift. Best one I've ever received." Then I walked out. Didn't slam the door, didn't curse, just left, while they stood there in confused silence. Their faces when I didn't break down, almost worth the whole humiliation. I got in my car and just drove, no destination in mind. Found myself at this crappy dive bar where no one knew me, ordered whiskey, then another, stared at my phone as Julie's text started coming in. "Why didn't you say anything? Are you seriously not going to fight for us? You're just proving my point by running away." About 3 drinks in, something changed. The numbness wore off, and a cold rage started building. Not the explosive kind that makes you do something stupid. The calculating kind that makes you want to burn someone's world down, methodically. See, what Julie and her family didn't know was how much dirt I had. 6 years of marriage to someone from a family that treats household staff like furniture. You hear things. You see things. The accountant who drinks too much at parties and talks about creative bookkeeping. The cousin who's sleeping with her sister's husband. The dad's business trips that don't seem to involve much business. So I did 3 things that night. 1. Called my buddy Larry, who happens to be the most ruthless divorce attorney in the city. 2. Started screenshotting every suspicious text Julie had sent or received that I could access on our shared cloud. 3. Made a list of every business contact and friend who needed to hear my side of the story before hers. I didn't go home that night. Crashed at my friend's place, woke up with my phone blown up with more texts from Julie, now sounding more panicked than smug. Apparently she expected me to come crawling back, begging to work things out. Instead, by noon the next day, Larry had already filed counter paperwork. I'd withdrawn my half from our joint accounts, left hers untouched, I'm not stupid, and I'd rented a storage unit where I moved all my important stuff while she was having brunch with her family, probably laughing about how devastated I must be. It's been a week now. I'm staying at an Airbnb while I figure out my next move. Julie's gone from smug, to confused, to angry, to frantically calling me every hour. Her last text said, "This isn't how this was supposed to go." No, Julie, this isn't how any of it was supposed to go. Larry says I'm in a stronger position than she expected. No kids, thank God, my name on most of our major assets, and enough evidence of her affair. Oh yeah, did I mention she's been sleeping with her coworker Ronan for months? To make her disappointment claims look pretty ironic. So that's where I am now, planning my next steps carefully. The rage hasn't subsided, but it's focused now. Her family thought I was nothing. Treated me like dirt for years. Celebrated the end of my marriage like it was a graduation party. They have no idea what's coming. Anyone else ever deal with such a public humiliation from a spouse? How did you handle it? Because right now I'm walking the line between taking the high road and scorched earth. And I'll be honest, scorched earth is looking tempting. Update, holy shit, you guys. First of all, I was not expecting my original post to blow up like that. RIP my inbox. Thanks for all the awards and support. And to the 3 people who DM'd me their divorce attorney recommendations. Respect. So it's been 3 months since the birthday party from hell, and some of you have been asking for an update. Buckle up, because there have been developments. Where to start? I guess with the bombshell I discovered 2 days after my last post. So I'm going through our shared cloud storage to download photos I wanted to keep before Julie could delete them, and I stumbled across a folder called Work Presentation. Weird thing is, it was created around the time Julie started acting sketchy. Being the suspicious bastard I now am, I clicked on it. It wasn't a work presentation. It was hundreds of screenshots of texts between Julie and her coworker Ronan, going back 8 months, complete with cute pet names, hotel meeting plans, and enough emojis to stock a digital grocery store. Pro tip, if you're cheating, maybe don't save the evidence to a shared cloud account. Just saying. There were selfies of them together at places Julie told me she was working late at. Turns out she wasn't analyzing quarterly reports at 10 p.m. on a Thursday, unless Ronan's abs were somehow involved in the financial analysis. I forwarded everything to Larry, divorce attorney extraordinaire, who literally just texted back. Christmas came early this year. The guy's a savage, and I'm here for it. So that's discovery number 1. But here's where things get interesting. After the initial shock wore off, I made 3 decisions. 1, I was going to focus on getting my shit together instead of just revenge. 2, I was going to let the divorce process play out through Larry without engaging with Julie directly. 3, I was going to start subtly building a new life that would eventually make her regret everything. The apartment we shared had too many memories, so I found a month-to-month rental. Nothing fancy, but it has this small balcony where I can actually see the stars at night. First night there, I sat outside with a beer, looked up at the sky, and realized I hadn't felt peace like that in years. Started hitting the gym regularly. Not because I'm trying to get a revenge body, though NGL, that was part of the motivation, but because I needed somewhere to put all this anger. First week, I could barely lift anything without my noodle arm shaking. Now I'm actually starting to see definition. Who knew emotions could be channeled into biceps? The divorce proceedings have been interesting. Julie apparently expected to get half of everything plus alimony because, in her words, she sacrificed career opportunities for our marriage. Larry actually laughed when he heard this. Turns out those sacrificed opportunities are hard to prove when you've been spending your work hours sending dirty texts to your coworker instead of, working. The affair evidence was our ace. Julie's family had always positioned themselves as these perfect, upstanding community pillars. Her dad, Bronson, is always posting on LinkedIn about family values and integrity in business. The threat of their precious daughter's affair becoming public knowledge during divorce proceedings made them suddenly very agreeable to Larry's terms. One weird moment came when I was clearing out the last of my stuff from our apartment. Julie showed up unexpectedly, the first time I'd seen her since the birthday ambush. She looked different, hair all messy, wearing sweatpants, which she never did before. She started with this whole speech about how she made a mistake, how Ronan wasn't who she thought he was. How maybe we could talk about reconciliation. I just walked past her with my box of stuff and said I'd have my attorney contact hers if she had anything to discuss. The look on her face, like she genuinely couldn't comprehend that I wasn't falling to my knees with gratitude for this second chance, was honestly priceless. So here's where things stand now. The divorce is almost finalized. No alimony thanks to the affair evidence. We're selling the apartment and splitting proceeds, though I let her keep most of the furniture since I'm starting fresh. I've reconnected with old friends Julie always hated. Remember my buddy Mike, who she said was a bad influence because he once brought grocery store wine to dinner instead of something fancy? Turns out he's still the same solid dude he always was, and now we hang out weekly for game nights. I started that business idea Julie always laughed at. Nothing huge, just customizing vintage furniture. Something I always liked doing, but Julie thought was tacky. Made my first sale on Etsy last week. The profit was like $27 after expenses, but damn, it felt good. Here's where it gets juicy. Julie's family business, high-end real estate development, has hit some snags lately. Apparently, they had this big commercial project that lost its main investor. This happened right after I had lunch with my old college roommate, who, plot twist, now works for that investor company. Did I mention anything specific about Julie's family during lunch? Nope. Did I accept his LinkedIn connection request afterward? Absolutely. Julie's sister Annabelle reached out to me last week. She was always the only decent one in that family. Said Julie has been a complete wreck, and Ronan dumped her after her dad tried to get him a better position at their company. Apparently, Ronan was only interested in Julie for her family connection. Shocked Pikachu face. Julie's Instagram has gone from daily posts about her #blessed life to complete radio silence. Meanwhile, I've been posting occasional updates, hiking trips, furniture projects, nights out with friends, nothing flashy, just me living a normal, happy life. Her best friend accidentally liked one of my photos at 2 a.m., then quickly unliked it, so I know they're watching. Last night was what would have been our anniversary. I was sitting on my balcony, scrolling through Twitter, feeling pretty okay actually, when my phone lit up with a text from Julie. I know you probably hate me, but I can't stop thinking about where we would be if I hadn't ruined everything. I miss your terrible jokes and the way you always made coffee for both of us, even when we were fighting. The apartment feels so empty now. Ronan was a mistake. My family was wrong. I was wrong. Please, can we just talk? I'm not above begging at this point. I stared at that text for a full hour, typed and deleted about 15 different responses. In the end, I just put my phone down and went to bed without replying. The thing is, 3 months ago, I would have given anything to get a text like that from her. Now, I'm not even sure what I want anymore. The anger is still there, but it's different now, less consuming. This morning, I woke up to find she'd sent 5 more messages overnight, each more desperate than the last. The final one just said, "I'm parked outside your building. Please come down." I looked out my window and sure enough, there was her white Audi in the visitor parking. She was just sitting there, looking up at the building. I closed the blinds and made coffee. What would you do? Part of me wants to hear what she has to say. Another part thinks opening that door, even a crack, would undo all the progress I've made. And a small petty part that I'm not proud of wants her to feel exactly what I felt that day at her parents' house. Life is weird, man. 3 months ago, I thought my world was ending. Now, I'm actually starting to think whatever comes next might be better than what I had before. Final update. I never expected to be writing a third update to this saga, but life keeps throwing curveballs. For those just tuning in, check my post history for the full backstory. Basically, my ex-wife Julie ambushed me with divorce papers at my birthday party, in front of her entire family, who literally popped champagne to celebrate getting rid of me. Classy stuff. So it's been exactly 6 months since that lovely birthday surprise. A lot has changed. I moved out of that month-to-month rental into an actual house. Nothing fancy, just a small 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood with a yard where I can finally get a dog. More on that later. The divorce was finalized 2 months ago with surprisingly little drama in the end. Julie's family lawyer folded like a cheap lawn chair once Larry showed the receipts of the affair. My furniture side hustle has been doing okay. Not quitting my day job okay, but enough to fund my coffee addiction and pay for streaming services. I've got regular customers now who specifically request my style. Still weird to think people actually like the stuff Julie used to call tacky garage sale rejects. Anyway, I was having a pretty normal Thursday night. Ordered pizza, binging that new series everyone's talking about on Netflix. Honestly, it's mid, but I'm too invested to stop now. My Ring doorbell notification goes off at like 11:30. I check it, thinking it's probably some drunk neighbor who got the wrong house again. Instead, I see Julie's car parked across the street, just sitting there, lights off. At first, I thought maybe she'd dropped someone off, but the car didn't move for over an hour. So I did what any normal person would, ignored it, and went to bed. But I couldn't sleep knowing she was just waiting out there. Around 1 in the morning, I checked the camera again, and her car was still there. That's when my phone started blowing up with texts. "Todd, please, I know you're home. I just need 5 minutes. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Please answer. I've made a horrible mistake, and the kicker that actually made me get out of bed. I've been sleeping in my car for 2 days. I have nowhere else to go." I went to the window, and sure enough, I could see her reclined in the driver's seat of her Audi. The same car her daddy bought her for her 25th birthday that she once told me was entry-level, even though it cost more than I made in 6 months. I debated what to do. Part of me, the petty part, wanted to just close the blinds and let her enjoy her car camping experience. But I'm not actually a monster. so I threw on sweats and a hoodie and went outside. The look on her face when I tapped on her window was rough. Her makeup was smeared, hair unwashed, wearing what looked like the same clothes from her last Instagram post 3 days ago. She scrambled to unlock the door, almost falling out in her rush to talk to me. First thing I noticed was the smell. Not like booze smell, but that stale fast food and desperation smell you get from living in your car. Second thing I noticed was she'd lost weight. Like a lot. Julie was always thin, but now she looked almost gaunt. She started rambling immediately, half crying, half talking. It took a minute to make sense of what she was saying. Apparently, Ronan, the affair guy, wasn't just sleeping with her. He was also funneling information about her family's business to competitors. Once Julie's dad found out, he fired Ronan, who promptly dumped Julie and disappeared with a bunch of confidential info. But it gets better. Julie, in her infinite wisdom, had been covering for Ronan at work, changing reports to make his numbers look better, because she was in love. When everything came to light, Daddy Dearest finally had enough and cut her off completely. No more job at the family business, no more allowance, no more paid apartment. She'd been couch surfing with friends for weeks but had burned through everyone's goodwill. Her last roommate kicked her out for not paying rent, which is how she ended up sleeping in her car outside my house as a last resort. I couldn't help but ask why she didn't go to her parents' McMansion. That's when she dropped the bomb that her dad, Bronson's business was under investigation for some shady financial stuff that Ronan had exposed. Turns out Mr. High and Mighty had been cutting corners and cooking books for years. Their assets were temporarily frozen and they'd had to downsize dramatically while the investigation continued. The karmic justice was almost too perfect. I invited her inside, not because I was considering taking her back, but because it was cold and I didn't need a hypothermic X on my conscience. She walked in and immediately started crying again, this time about how nice my place looked. It's literally just normal furniture with actual plants I've managed to keep alive, but compared to her living in a car, I guess it was the Ritz. We sat at my kitchen table and I made coffee while she talked. The whole story came pouring out, how her parents had pressured her into the divorce after finding out about Ronan, convincing her she could trade up while taking half my assets. How they'd planned the whole birthday ambush as a way to humiliate me so I'd sign quickly without fighting. How she'd realized within weeks that she'd made a terrible mistake, but her pride kept her from admitting it. She actually said, and I quote, "I thought you'd fight for me." That's when I laughed. Not meanly, just the absurdity of it all. She orchestrates this public humiliation, tells me I'm a disappointment, serves me divorce papers on my birthday, and expected me to what? Beg her to reconsider? Write a heartfelt letter about how I couldn't live without her? I asked her what she wanted from me now. More tears. Then she laid it out. She wanted to try again. She'd learned her lesson and grown as a person in 6 months. Apparently she had nowhere to go, no money, no job prospects. Her expensive degree was useless without Daddy's connections. She thought maybe she could move in with me while we figured things out. I let her finish. Then I did something that surprised even me. I thanked her. I thanked her for the divorce, for showing me exactly who she and her family were, for forcing me to rebuild my life on my own terms. The past 6 months had been hard, but also weirdly liberating. For the first time since college, I was making choices based on what I wanted, not what would please her or impress her family. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Then came more tears and bargaining. She'd do anything to fix things. She'd changed. She'd never appreciated what she had. I told her she could crash on my couch for one night because it was late and I wasn't sending anyone out to sleep in their car. But in the morning, she needed to figure out her next steps. Steps that didn't involve me. The look of shock on her face was almost comical. I don't think Julie had ever been told no in her entire life. Morning came and I made breakfast. Because that's just what decent humans do. While we were eating, her phone rang. It was her dad. She put it on speaker, habit I guess, and I heard Bronson's voice for the first time since the birthday party. Gone was the smug condescension, replaced by something I'd never heard from him before, desperation. Their business was barely hanging on. Investors were pulling out left and right. They needed help from someone with connections in the industry, and Julie had mentioned I'd been doing well. He actually asked if I would consider meeting with him to discuss potential opportunities for mutual benefit. I almost choked on my coffee. The same man who laughed at me for being beneath his daughter was now practically begging for my help. Julie looked at me with this weird mix of hope and embarrassment. I told Bronson I wasn't interested in any business arrangements with him, but I knew someone who might be able to help. Mia, the woman I'd been seeing for the past month. She's actually brilliant at helping struggling businesses rebuild their reputation. Just friends so far, but honestly the healthiest relationship I've had in years. There was a long silence on the phone. Then Bronson asked for her contact information. I gave it to him, ended the call, and looked at Julie. The realization was dawning on her face, that not only was I not taking her back, but I'd moved on. She left an hour later with a backpack of essentials and an Uber to her sister Annabelle's place, who'd agreed to let her stay temporarily. As she was leaving, she asked if I would ever forgive her. I told her I already had, not for her sake, but for mine. Holding on to anger was exhausting, and I had furniture to refinish and a dog to adopt. Speaking of which, meet Max, the three-legged rescue pit bull I adopted last weekend, tax included in post. He drools on my couch and steals my socks, but he's the best decision I've made in years. So that's the end of the Julie saga. 6 months from champagne celebrating my devastation to sleeping in her car outside my house. Life comes at you fast. I don't know what happens next for her. I hope she figures her stuff out. I hope her family learns something from all this. But mostly, I'm just looking forward to all the things I never got to do when I was trying to fit into their world. Traveling without worrying about luxury accommodations, making furniture without being told it's embarrassing, getting a dog that sheds all over everything. For those who followed this whole crazy story, thanks for the support, the advice, and occasionally calling me out when I was being a dick. It helped more than you know. Anyone else come out the other side of a nightmare and realize it was actually the best thing that ever happened to you?